People watching, let's go. So we'll do our presentation at the moment is what it takes to be a developer. We are doing it in Keynote for speed, but we will do it.
We're going to move over to
Reveal.js,
which
for open source.
It's still reasonably quick. It's just this is unfortunately a little bit quicker.
It is quicker for someone in animations. I haven't done animations in Reveal.js. Who am I? Hey, thanks for joining.
With the start slide? That's the question. So we've got a start slide. Is that enough to just put up on the screen? Should we be saying a bit more?
I think you should use my setup because I've got more screens.
Yeah, but that just adds more confusion to the screen, right? You want to have some space for... I think that's fine, right? That's the subject. That's what we're talking about.
Although it hasn't come up in the video yet. This video on YouTube is a bit behind.
Later in, let's check how it looks on full screen. Okay. There you go.
So yes, we're doing a So who am I? Just joined. Thanks for joining, and thanks for saying hi in the chat. Everyone else who's there, do say hi in the chat. We're doing a presentation for what it takes to be a developer.
I can't actually have the chat open, I've realised, because I'm doing the presentation through to here, so I can't actually talk to anyone. So if anyone's on my channel looking, which I think at the moment we're okay, because I'm only just...
Do you want me to open? I can open that flip from the two.
But hey, that's cool.
Let me open yours. I'll open your chat. Is it Andrew Cunliffe?
Yeah, that's his name.
Why can't I find it? I'll just search for you.
So first slide, we want to do a little bit of a kind of jokey thing, right?
Yes.
That's the idea, is to start a little bit kind of, what is recruitment culture? So when we get calls from people and when jobs get posted up, people focus on a number of things that, to be fair, they're just not realistic. They're not things that matter so much anymore. Yeah. Maybe 15, 20 years ago when software and things were still growing and solidifying, they were important. But nevertheless, people still revert back to the stuff that they're saying, you need a degree in computer science. I mean, what's your thoughts on that? Do you really need a degree in computer science?
Absolutely not. I know you believe the same. That's quite archaic. It's quite old to think you need a degree in computer science, and I think we're going to articulate that hopefully quite well tomorrow. And the organiser from tomorrow's just messaged me.
You're sharing your slides too soon. Yes. What are you doing?
Although the slides don't look very readable on the 360 camera. That looks so washed out.
In fact, actually, you're right. You're on there. They're not looking great.
But we will read out the slides.
Maybe a darker background will help.
Maybe. And we've just had Uggle. I don't know if I pronounced your username. I'm really sorry if I have.
Is that reading better?
Wait for it to come through. And then can you put the writing in white?
Yeah, I'll make the writing white.
We've got 7 people watching now. Okay, there's climbing. Yours is a couple people watching. I'll give you a thumbs up, Andrew. So I've got 3 thumbs up. So yeah, we're working on our slides, and this first slide is kind of the myths. So this myths part will be animate down afterwards. Yes, and the idea is degree in computer science. And what does everyone think? People who are watching, do you think a degree in computer science is needed to get a job in software engineering? I'm kind of guessing the answer, but why don't you write it in the chat and let's see.
Yeah, so the other thing, a lot of people seem to think you've got to be like super good at maths, right? Like
human calculator.
If you've got to do some kind of calculation, I mean, at the end of the day, we work on computers, right? We can just type something in, go to Google, look things up. You're not reinventing the wheel most of the time. Like if I want to, I know I've got to draw a graph and I need to draw a pie chart, chances are I can go grab it off the internet anyway. I might be able to figure it out myself, but why reinvent the wheel at the moment? There's libraries for that kind of stuff. It's more about how can I go about finding it, not so much can I do it myself these days.
Yeah.
Again, 20 years ago, possibly it was useful to be able to do that kind of stuff. Nowadays, not so much.
Yeah, I agree. So the calculator part, yeah, it's not needed so much anymore. Know all the latest technology. This is one of my favourites because for everyone who's watching, by the way, don't forget it's a 360 camera, so do grab the corner.
Yeah, you can move around, check where we're at. There's no one playing games outside right now, but there's a games room right next to us.
If we get time, we'll take you out for a game of pool or table tennis.
Yeah, we'll play some table tennis at the end of this, and yeah, that's cool.
So knowing the latest technology, I love it when I see job roles and they say, must have 10 years in React, and React's been around for, I don't know, 4 or 5 years or something. And it's just, that happens like so much.
The number of tech, I mean, they'll list like 30 odd technologies and say, we expect you to know all of this, and we don't expect you to just know it. We expect you to have been doing it for longer than the bloody thing exists in the first place. Yeah. You're just like, yeah, that's just not realistic. No one's going to know 20 different things and all the different languages. I mean, don't get me wrong, I can probably take a look at a language and understand and read it quite quickly, but if I want to write it, that's different. I mean,
yes.
No matter how many years experience you've got.
Absolutely.
It's not so much what your experience is, what your background is. Yeah, okay, but a year or 2 in that kind of stuff, it will definitely help give you a quick start. But if you're going into a decent role, decent place, you'll be supported, you'll have the mentors there, they'll tell you what you're doing. So specifics on technology, not so needed. Something more generalistic, like React is built on JavaScript, so you might say, okay, I need someone that's got a couple of years with JavaScript. If they've got some exposure to frameworks, fair dues. But the reality is, frameworks are going to come and go. React, it's been around for a little while now. Is it on its way out? That's a different conversation.
That's a different conversation. Let's not get into that now. Angular's obviously better. I'm joking.
That's another
We're not getting that conversation. Also, should code all day and night? I think it's quite a myth, right? A lot of people think we just sit in a back room, really quiet.
Or you sit in a basement somewhere, lights are all dark, you just sat there, head down, like 30 screens in front of you. I mean, proper kind of...
like Matrix stuff. And it's like, that's not true. During the day, we need to work with other people, designers, business analysts, the client. So yes, we like to code probably as much as possible, but in reality, you probably only code like just over half the day. The rest of the time,
I think there was some statistics someone said is 15% of your time you're actually writing code.
Really? 15?
The rest of that time is admin work, it's agreeing requirements, it's looking at the acceptance criteria. Basically, 15% of your time is actually writing the usable code, the functional code. The rest of it, it's all the prep and the analysis and just all the other stuff that sits around it. Yeah, some of it's learning stuff, doing some research, etc.
Yeah, looking through reading documentation and all the rest.
You're not there coding all day and night. Don't get me wrong, the people that are really kind of, what's the word, absorbed or enthusiastic about this stuff, they may well be doing that. They may well be putting in 12, 14 hours. I know I've probably done some of those from time to time, but the reality is you don't need to be doing that. You need to be learning, you need to be involved, you need to be
balanced.
Going to some of the events, that kind of stuff. But
yes,
when those are the expectations that people have got for you, that's the wrong culture, let's say.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right. Going to events, networking, meetups, hackathons, and learning technologies at hackathons, getting exposure to those is really, really important. Do they need to be a code ninja, Andrew?
What is a code ninja anyway? I don't even know what a code ninja is. I don't think I've actually met someone going around in like a little black suit, kind of hiding in the shadows, jumping out and going, yeah, here you go, done it.
I know what a code ninja is. They're just like a code rock star.
What's one of them?
I know what code rock star is like. It's like a code black ops.
Which so basically is just some kind of bullshit term some marketing person has come up with,
I think it's more
and they think this sounds cool. It's like going down to the pub with a few mates, right? You go down there, have a bit of a laugh, you come up with some stupid things, you go away in the night and you forget about it all. Whereas these people, it sticks with them, and they start to think that's what they should be looking for. And that's what people like, just because people might be having a joke about it.
True. The amount of job roles we see that are like, need to be rock star, if you're a ninja, then come work for us. It's like, delete, not interested, or never look at it, and I'll never write that on my job spec.
You know, they're just a bunch of clowns at the end of the day, right?
Absolutely.
They're fooling around. They're not very serious about it. They might think they are, but evidently they're not if they're asking for stuff like that.
Absolutely. So don't forget, everyone, it's a 360 camera. Do have a scroll around and look around the room. Isn't much going on. You probably can't see me at the moment.
I'm probably out of your camera, aren't I?
I slightly moved it. So no,
we can come over a bit.
We can scooch in as long as we don't block the monitor, which I don't think we are. We'll see how that goes in a second. So we've done. Don't need a degree in computer science. You don't need to be good at maths. You don't need to know all the latest technologies. 10 years in React, when React's only been around for like 5, say for example. Should code all day and night. What rubbish.
And then they start to try and give you selling points, right? They say, well, why do you want this job? So not only are they expecting you to do all this stuff and be this not physical, I'm trying to think of the word, the phantom person that just doesn't really exist there.
Oh yeah, true.
Made up, imaginary, whatever. So first of all, they're expecting you to be this person, and then they're trying to sell you this thing to say, hey, look, you come join this company, you do this work for them. They're building the next Facebook.
Oh yes, it's true.
I mean, seriously, you're building the next Facebook. Are you? That's a great ambition to have, perhaps, but you're not.
It's true.
What is it you're trying to do?
It's true, and those are the type of places that say, oh, you must have like all the big data stuff because you've got big data, and you go, well, how big is your data? We've got a 2 gig database, and it's massive, and it's like that can run on my phone. Like seriously.
People's expectations and realities are very different.
Yeah, or you've got 2 thumbs up.
Cool. But I suppose the other thing, right, is not only is it a case of we're building this next big thing, it's mission statements, visions. They never talk about what is it we're actually trying to go. What are our long-term goals? They come up with this kind of fantasy thing of we're building the next Facebook, but they can't tell you, well, actually, what we want to do is we want to improve people's lives. We want to make things more transparent. We want to do this, we want to do that. No one ever actually says, this is what our goals are. it'd be much more interesting to understand what their goals are for the next couple of years, what they're trying to do. I mean, become engrossed in that journey as well. I mean,
Yeah, it's really
when I
important.
take a job, I'm looking at the journey.
And everyone wants to be part of that journey, really. But if you don't tell them the journey, they go in there more for the job and the salary, rather than, in addition to that, they're only passionate. We had a question actually about the Dr. Snow. Thanks for joining. We've got a question for Ugla. Hopefully I pronounced it right. I'm really sorry if I haven't. Do you think some types of developers need a CS degree? For instance, writing low-level code, counting clock cycles on the CPU, or writing advanced distributed systems? It's a fair question.
It's a fair question. I mean, there are certainly some really low-level things that if you've not got any background in computer science and you just drop-shipped into it, yeah, you've got no hope of doing it. Right? But if you've got the right background, the right sort of interests, let's say, you've been floating around the right circles, okay, you might not be able to go straight from A to B. It might take you a bit longer. But I would probably rather hire... I'll take a realistic example. I'd probably someone from like a history or philosophy type background where they read a lot, they understand, they absorb all that information. Because the low level stuff, it's still changing, but there's a lot of consistency there. Like assembly language is not going to really change, right?
That's true.
So yeah, obviously I'm not going to discount people with a computer science degree. It's not a case of you've got a computer science, I'm not interested.
But it's not a requirement though, I think.
But it's being inclusive. It's saying, okay, so for this role, what's your background like? Have you done this kind of stuff? Have you not done this stuff? If you were to need to do it, what tools do you go to? I mean, a lot of people will cite, oh, I look at Stack Overflow, I look at Google.
Stack Overflow is not a good thing, right? Because most things on there are out of date anyway.
Yeah. The nice thing with Stack Overflow is it gives you some reminders and it kind of tips you in the right direction.
Yes, true.
But I'd be more interested in people that say, okay, I will go and perhaps watch a video on that, or I will go and do an online tutorial and those kind of things, and be up to date with it and look at those things. So if you've got the right kind of approach, then yeah, you'd be interested in recruiting those people. But you're not going to just say, because you've got a computer science degree, I'm going to assume you can do the job, because chances are they can't.
Yeah, and I mean, I did electronic engineering at university, and we had to do a bit of software, but all that stuff we did around software doesn't help me today. And I think it was taught really badly and really out of date, and actually wasn't very helpful. I know you did a computer science degree, Andrew, so did you feel it helped you with what you did today, or it was just...
It was a bit of a tick in the box exercise, I suppose. Yeah, there were a couple of things I perhaps learnt there, but I would say today, have I actually used anything? I spent 4 years doing a degree, or like a year in industry during it. The year in industry is probably the most beneficial thing, because I learned how to deal with people and real life problems.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing, it's the real life stuff. The stuff you learn in the classroom, okay, it's helpful, it points you in the right direction, you learn some of the syntaxes and stuff, and it might expedite some of that, but having a good mentor, someone that you can look up to when you start there and say, right, this person, you can guide me in the right direction, you can say, look here, this is where you go. That's much more valuable than sitting in a classroom and being told, go read this book.
This theory of stuff that you don't really do on a day-to-day basis and so on, there's not a lot, it's interesting, but there's not a lot of value in that, I think, and like sorting data, like with different sorts, right, you just get a database to do it, and you don't really do those sorts of things. Just with the people watching, let us know what your background is. Are you developers or want to get into development? Because the presentation we're preparing for tomorrow is what it takes to be a developer. So I'd be interested to know what your thoughts and feedback are.
This is also what it takes to be a developer. We're doing a talk tomorrow. We want to start out by just kind of pointing out to people what an expectation from the real world is. So they have this kind of view of a developer that says, these are the things we expect. You expect to have a computer science degree. We expect you to be able to calculate things, have a really strong maths background, let's say. We expect you to know all the latest tech. We kind of done 10 years with React, even though it's not been around for anywhere near 10 years. You're going to be up all night. You're going to be a code ninja. They love to throw these buzzwords at you. And then they'll start saying, well, how are we going to sell this to you? Well, you're going to build the next Facebook. You're going to make a shitload of money. You're going to be rich really fast. Neither of us are rich. Don't want to get me wrong. We've worked hard. We've got ourselves into a comfortable place, and we're trying to share that and help other people get somewhere. But it's not a get-rich-quick thing. I mean, you're not going to suddenly come up with some idea and sell it for millions, and no one's going to hire you for £20,000 a day or anything like that. But you'll get yourself in a comfortable place, and if you're lucky, you'll meet good people that are in the right culture. They talk about free food games rooms. Well, we seem to move. If you look at the 360 camera, you'll see we are sat next to a games room.
Let me pan on the 360 camera. Oh yes, you can. So if you sit back slightly, Andrew, if everyone looks, if everyone pans that way, There's a pool table. Carry on. Go on.
We've got pool table, table tennis. There is a foosball table
You can
around
probably
there.
hear the dong 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 noise at the moment.
It's a bit quiet right now because it's kind of end of the day. A lot of people have finished for the day, but we're in a WeWork space effectively,
In London,
which is
UK.
fantastic for the office space and the access to the meeting rooms and all the rest of it. And it is nice to have that. Don't get me wrong. At the end of the day, it's good to just sit back, play a bit of table tennis, talk a little, whatever.
Also live stream
Do a
like we
live
are
stream,
now
yeah.
and connect with you awesome people, but that doesn't determine culture. When they say free food and games room, you can't force culture. People, if you put them in a good or bad kind of physical environment, it's the people that will create the culture, not the environment. It's nice to have a good environment, but that doesn't determine it.
And the last point we were talking about was, so we mentioned next Steve Jobs. I mean, everyone has a hero they might aspire to. I wouldn't say we aspire to Steve Jobs by any means. We just threw a few names in the hat, Bill Gates, so forth. But a lot of people seem to suggest you go into doing this, you're going to become one of these well-known leaders, invent the next great thing. Not true either. I mean, none of the stuff on this is true. So this is why we've said these are all myths. They're all fictional things that recruitment and management have all come up with, and they seem to be bought into that. So from our point of view, we want to change that opinion a bit. And that's what we're trying to do, I suppose. We're trying to change opinion. We're trying to make people realise that there's a real world element to this.
Yeah.
There's a culture element to this.
Culture is so important. A big passion of mine. Culture is really important. I'm going to rant now.
No, you go for it.
So if you're looking at Andrew, pan over this way and look at me.
Yeah, Eddie's going to give you the next 20 minutes.
Like 2 minutes. Just culture is so important, and trying to force culture doesn't work. Trying to force it with, we'll take you pizzas on Friday. It doesn't work. People will organise their own shit if they like each other. And
talk to them, right? It's not a case of just leave them go and let them do whatever. Go around, talk to them. If you've got a team of people, the most valuable thing you can do is sit with them and become part of their team. Talk to them, understand their problems, help them solve their problems. Ask them, what do you need? Little things like that.
Simple things, yeah, absolutely.
That's the culture. It's not, hey, look, over there, there's a free bar, go help yourself. Don't get me wrong, I've come to the free bar this evening and I fancied having a drink whilst we have a chat, but that is not a culture that you force on people. That's kind of a personal preference thing.
And unfortunately, if you have one bad person in that who doesn't think the same as that culture or that team, then it's a bit like a cancer. And also then people start worrying, politics come into play, then people start worrying, oh, I'm going to speak to that person, and you don't concentrate on the work. Whereas if you're working with a really good team and you all work well together, you want to deliver, you want to do live streams together, you want to get that beer together, have that lunch together, brown bags together. So yeah, culture.
Well, there was that video,
really
right,
important.
with Gary V.
Yeah.
He put the video out saying, you know what, if there's somebody in your organisation and they're making other people around them miserable or unproductive, just get rid of them. Don't
Even
keep
if
them.
they're
They're
the
not
best developer,
even if
the best salesperson, like Andrew was saying, just get rid of them. It's not worth having one bad person who might be technically good.
that attitude spreads, right?
Exactly.
People kind of get focused and they get drawn down. It's really easy to bring people down. It's really difficult
Yes.
to bring them up.
It's true.
So,
it's very, very true.
Yeah, get rid of the people that are causing the problem because that'll just spread like wildfire.
Yeah, attitude is more important than skills. So when we're hiring, we look more at the attitude than the actual skill level. So don't get me wrong, skill level is important.
You've got to have the right head in your shoulders.
You
can't be an idiot. I mean, that's why, God, last time I recruited someone, I probably looked at 50 CVs before hiring them. And that's probably a typical thing. You look at a lot of CVs. I talk on the phone to almost every CV that comes in. You send a CV, I will probably call up and we'll have a chat. And within 5 minutes, it will either be let's keep talking or sorry, you've got the wrong head in your shoulders or your attitude stinks. But it's a balance between the two. You can't have purely the best attitude in the world, not unless you're going for a salesperson. Maybe you're hiring a salesperson.
Or community manager or something like that, yes.
But if you're hiring a developer, which is what we're trying to talk about, then it's a mix of the two. You've got to have the right balance there. You've got to be able to do the tech stuff, you've got to be a bit of a geek in your free time, and you've got to be able to just know how to interact with people.
Yeah, communication and collaboration is so important. That's where DevOps comes about. We won't go into that now, but recruiters, like, they fuck this up, they mess it, I don't know if I can swear on the stream, but they mess up the whole job titles and go, yes, DevOps, you get a developer and an ops person for the price of one. Think, no, DevOps is a culture, but we won't go into that now. And I'm going to answer.
So what's our next? Oh,
one more to answer. I have a reason why this question or this comment or statement from Uggle says, since you asked, I'm shifting from electronic engineering to software, SW, business software.
Sounds like your background.
Looking to break into the industry. That's what I did. I pulled the camera over this way, like get the stream over this way. I did electronic engineering. I did a master's in electronic engineering, and I'm in software. And 15 years later, I don't regret it at all. I think it's so much more dynamic. It's got so much more of a community. I love the open source side. Love the creative side where electronics is a bit more structured and rigid. It's not so creative. So definitely make the change, and you'll enjoy it. Let me know how you get on with that change. I'll be really interested. And Dr. Snow says student developer. Cool. Keep studying. Do open source. All of you do open source, even if it's a little bit. It will really help you find work later on.
And that doesn't mean start a new project, but just contribute. Look at what's going on.
Cool. We've got Circle Pixel says currently an adult student myself. Quit my job as a IT technician to become a developer. Hopefully to start a BSc computer science in September. Sounds awesome. Sounds good. Do it. The best decision I ever made was.
I think the training's good, the education's good, but if you've already got some experience and some background, you've been an IT technician, right? So you must have picked up a few things. You've got something you can work with there. The qualification isn't, unless there's a particular thing you really want to learn, the qualification isn't going to get you your jobs going forward. What will get you the jobs is the attitude.
Attitude, open source.
It will be giving some evidence that you've been in the right circles.
Yeah.
So, the experience as an IT technician, that's going to go somewhere.
Yeah, it's going to help.
And being able to, convince the person that's sat the other side of there that you are resourceful.
Yes, it's not knowing all the answers. You're resourceful, you know where to look. So, for example, design patterns. You don't have to memorize all of them. Learn the few useful ones that you use over and again and be aware of the others. So you know the title and you know roughly what it does and you know where to look for it when you need it. Go, that design pattern will help. I know where I can look for that. It's Wikipedia or sourcemaking.com or whatever it is. So yes, that's really, really important too. I'm conscious of the time.
Yeah, so next slide we're then going to talk about ourselves a bit. This guy's really bright. I'm going to have to make these all darker, I think, because there's a slight issue with the brightness I noticed. And if we're going to be having this recorded, so tomorrow when we do this, we're going to be recording this as well. This is going to be
on
live,
a better camera, but still.
Live stream tomorrow evening?
No, we won't live stream it.
We're not live streaming tomorrow,
I can't manage to chat.
So tomorrow evening, this is what the talk we're doing. We're talking to an audience of 50 budding developers at an evening meetup. And we're going to be just kind of taking them through a bit of our background. So obviously we're starting out with a little bit of a bit of a talk going on.
Yeah.
Then we're going to take them on and talk to them a little bit about ourselves, our own background. So for myself, it's about 18 approximately years ago. I probably need to check yours. But the reality is probably the last 3 years are all that counts. I mean,
technology moves so fast.
You know,
5 years maybe.
There's a joke on there. We've got 3 years because the reality is I probably started coding on what I'm using today 3 years ago. But I've got a background that probably takes me 18 years back. For me, the main thing that I'm interested in is Agile Practices. I think if you get those right and they're instilled correctly, they're great. But it's not like what toolset do I use. I mean, the number of places that you go to and they say, oh, we're Agile. And you say, oh, cool, what sort of things are you doing? We're using Jira. And you just go, oh, seriously, that's what makes you think you're Agile. That has nothing to do with being Agile, apart from it's potentially a mechanism once your practices are right. So for me, I love Agile. I think it's definitely the way forward. The problem is it gets a bad name because so many places either get it wrong or they use it as a marketing tool for their clients or whatever. Or they're just led by the wrong people. There's a big leadership problem when it comes to Agile.
Yes, true. They like the buzzwords, but they don't appreciate that the ceremonies are so important. You can't miss them. Oh, this week we're miss planning, we're miss retrospective.
Yeah, we'll shift the retro to the end of the week. It
doesn't work like that because you lose that week of improving. We got a question just going to say, how about projects? What would you like to see in a portfolio? I think that's a really good question.
Yeah, that is good. I think that is definitely valuable because I do like to see a bit of what is something you've worked on because it brings a bit more reality there. For me, it's all about the reality of what you've actually done. Seeing a list of places saying, "Oh, I've worked for Visa, I've worked for," I'm trying to think of some of the big names that we can throw out there that are sensible.
What ones that we've worked for, generally speaking?
Yeah, I mean, you could talk about DHL or something. But the big name brands, let's say, you can say, I've worked for these people, I've been chief architect, I've been an IT director, I've just been a lackey doing tests. I won't say lackey, I mean, it's an important role. But whatever you feel is at any level, you could say, I've done all these things. Okay, they might look good as kind of just a checklist to say, okay, so you've been at a few places and you've had a few titles. reality is no one's probably going to actually go and look those up. So you could have written anything on there.
Yes.
On occasions, I think on probably 3 occasions, I've actually called up to check on something because it's been a very senior role I've been hiring for. I wanted to validate that. But in most cases, no one's actually going to call up. So you could have written anything on there, and it'll get you through the door. But on a CV, what I'm most interested in is certainly your real life experience. Talk about your projects. Did you have a really successful project where it either increased money coming into the business, so the return on investment they've made? Were you building a team, and was that a success? Did the team gel well? Depends on what I'm hiring for, but certainly being able to see there was this project. So I'll take a project I did recently. So it was quite a long project, a few years, but it started out with just 2 of us. There were two of us working on it, solution architects, developers. For the first year, it was pretty much the 2 of us. We were proof of concepting things, making sure it all worked. And then after those 2 years, we started building up teams around that. And over the next 2 years, we went from the 2 of us to just shy of 30 people across 3 teams. Fantastic, it was great growth. But what was the downfall for them was they saw all the growth and the great work coming out, the new clients they were bringing on board, and they thought, you know what, we need to go and sell more. So they brought in more salespeople, product owners that didn't understand the history of what was going on. And over the following 6 months, things just got really bad for them. They were losing customers. They were focused outwards so much, they weren't focusing inwards.
And inwards is so important. Again, I'm going to rant again. It's like culture is so important, but also looking inward. If you're looking inward and looking after your people, they're happy, they'll do a better job, they'll do a higher quality. If it's open source, the quality is already massively higher because people know that their friend, their colleagues, their future employers are going to look at it. So going back to the portfolio, if your people are building websites for their portfolio, I don't want to see screenshots and pictures, I want to see the code on GitHub. And if it's open source, if it's UI, if it's a website, it's already available, right? You can view the source code. Yes, you can minify and uglify it, but really it's still there. So you might as well put it on GitHub open source. Even put your learnings on GitHub open source.
Skip to your slide, right? So on here we've got a slide for Eddie as well. I need to make this dark too, so I'll do that whilst you talk. So this is Eddie's slide, a bit of his background.
This is my chibi, my character. So yeah, again, started to code a long time ago. Finished uni a long time ago, the electronic engineering degree. I'm a huge advocate for open source for so many reasons. Not only is the quality better, I think people who do open source appreciate the culture and collaboration, and they have a respect for all the other developers. So when they're commenting on a pull request or an issue, they're more respectful because they understand a lot of effort and hard work going into that, rather than saying this is shit. They'll say, well, have you also thought about this? And I think that's really important. So when I'm hiring, I'm actually looking for that. So that's really, really important for me. Inclusive teams, again, like Andrew said, inclusive teams, attitude is so important. Skills can be taught, but attitude it can't be. Connor asks, what are our thoughts on whiteboarding and algorithm questions? How important is this skill? I think that's really dated.
Yeah, so this is my pet peeve now.
Okay,
go on. I've been interviewed. I'm a consultant still. I still go around to places looking for work, and I try to pick up projects more. So we go around as a team typically. So the 2 of us, we've worked together for the last 8-12 years. But the biggest pet peeve I have is when I do go to an actual, I call it an interview. I don't deem it to be individual. And someone sits there in front of me and says, right, I've got some questions for you. And they start asking you questions, and you go, oh God, hang on, takes me back to university days. Now, I do remember someone asking or reading about that subject. What was it? And you think, bloody hell, why am I being asked questions that are in a textbook that are going to not be used day in, day out? Now, don't get me wrong, if the algorithm you're asking them is a day in, day out problem, then maybe there's some value there for asking it and asking how they solve it. I wouldn't expect to say to them, right, here's the problem, solve it right now in front of me. But what I might say is, okay, this is the sort of gist of the issue we've got. Take me through how you would solve that. So again, this takes me back to that resourcefulness comment. So I might be looking for things like, okay, first of all, I'm going to go back to the stakeholders, the product owner. I'm just going to flesh it out with them a bit more. I want to talk to them a bit more. I want to understand why is it that this algorithm is needed? What is the expected outcomes for it? If I was to input this, what are the outcomes?
That adds so much value, right? Because sometimes we get requirements that haven't really been thought through. Like, oh, I need X. And like, okay, I'll build X. But it's like, but why do they want X? They actually might want Y. They don't realise it yet. But when you're asking them for the requirements, kind of pulling it out of them, you might be able to propose some other solutions that are actually more tailored to actually what they want.
These people, they're not stupid. They know what they want. The problem is they can't articulate it very well from a technical work, because most of these people are asking for stuff, they're coming from a totally different background. You've got to understand that. So in an interview, I don't expect to be asked, please solve these particular problems, because okay, maybe they're valid problems and they probably need solving. But the truth is, when I go to solve that, I'm probably going to use my resources to find the answer. There's a degree I might be able to get 70% of the way there without looking at any of those resources, but getting the last little bit, it probably does. I probably might need to remind myself how does this particular algorithm work, etc. But ask me a question like that in an interview, and certainly in the last couple of years, I've walked out of interviews when they start asking me questions like that, because if they're going to go down that path, I don't want to work for them, because they're just after someone that's just going to knock out code, whether it's right or wrong, who cares probably. They're not building the right culture there. They're just expecting people to get their heads down, get stuff done with no reason at all. So yeah, definitely, if you're in an interview and you're an interviewer, don't ask people technical questions. Ask them enough to get an appreciation for how they go about doing something. So again, back to the Agile Practices, will they go around, get the acceptance criteria? How will they formulate that? Are they going to use a Gherkin format for that? When they write their code, are they going to do a test first approach to it?
Yeah.
I've gone past my slide right now, but test first is probably the most important thing to me. However, I do also appreciate that sometimes you need to experiment, and you can't always just put the test in. You need to experiment, try things out, think how do we shape this a bit, and then you can put your tests in. But certainly before you make a commit, there should be a matching set of tests that go to give evidence that this is going to work and it's got
with boundary conditions as well. Do you want to know that it also can fail and the code covers that? So having boundary condition tests is really important.
And the other things that I'd look for is beyond actually writing the code, what happens afterwards? Because it doesn't finish at the point where I commit it and throw it away. The code still has a life. It's going to get a code review. So I expect to be getting told, yeah, okay, I'm happy to do code reviews. These are the things I look for: consistency and standards, using sensible documentation wherever it's needed, naming variables sensibly, and what kind of things you're looking for when you're doing a code review. And then running the code up itself locally, just making sure, is this fit for purpose, taking it back to the acceptance process. Those are the sorts of things that during an interview you want to understand from someone, not are you the best coder in the world, because there's plenty of people out there that are going to be able to answer that question, but there's not so many people out there that are going to know what goes around all that. Deployment as well.
To give another example on that, and I'll answer, Joshua just asked a question and he gave some really good feedback. He says this is really helpful. So
cool.
I'll get to your question in a second. I just want to add that the best person I interviewed was, the test I gave them was, they couldn't complete it in the hour. Now, there's no way. The idea was you couldn't complete the test in the hour, but I wanted to see where did you focus on. And 99.9% of people just try to bash out loads of code to get something working, forgot about tests, forgot about documentation, forgot about all best practices. And that's the point I want you to see. When people get, push comes to shove, would they rather deliver 10 features at 90% done or 80% done, or would they rather deliver 5 features at 100% best practice done? And I'd rather have, so I'm working on my team, deliver less features but 100% amazingly done with, like Andrew said, automated testing, with boundary conditions, documentation. And the way they completed it was actually really interesting. The way they completed it was, when they wrote the code, they just wrote skeleton code. It was pseudo code. It had a class that would do this and a method with the title of what it would do, but they didn't implement that code. And then they had tests to back that up, to say the test would then test that method, and another test that would test that method with the boundary condition. And then they also had documentation, but documentation was just the subtitles. And again, that showed that they really thought everything. And they wrote even Gherkin, and they wrote the Gherkin to show how the test. So they had the step def, but the step def was just the outline of it, the skeleton class. Awesome. It wasn't actually doing it. And they had a cucumber. I was like, this person thinks in such a great way, such a proper way, that it was brilliant. It was really, really good. So that was really impressive. I'm just going to answer some of these questions. And the battery on the Insta360 is getting quite low already. We've been going for...
We do want to get to a little retro one ourselves.
We do, and that's the biggest piece as well. We're getting to about 40 minutes, and this thing's got about 10 minutes probably left on it. So yes, I want to do a shout out for Andrew's channel as well. Andrew's just started his channel, but we'll come to that in a second.
It's a new thing.
Let's do that now, actually. You know what? Let's do that now. So if you're panning over Andrew's way, and you're seeing Andrew talking on the 360 camera, don't forget to grab the video and look over. Andrew has recently started a YouTube channel. I've encouraged him to do it. And Andrew, his channel's different to mine. His is on tech, but it's focusing more on coding and best practice. We're really focusing on that. So I like to do coding on my channel, but also like to do events, hackathons, and so on, as you all know me. But Andrew wants to focus on coding a lot more. So
it's the best practices, as you say. So it's going to be focused on some real world stuff. I mean, I've done a very initial video to start out, which is just kind of like you set up a development environment, what tools you might want to use. And the next video is going to be effectively a GitHub video about how to manage your code from a code repository perspective, using GitHub open source, how you do all that, how you set it up securely, so SSH keys, all that stuff. And then we'll get into more of the modern framework stuff and do some tutorials on that. But I want to try and make it more realistic, because there's plenty of videos out there that will tell you, for example, with Angular, how to write a component, what it takes to build a component, what it takes to build a directive, what it takes to build all the rest of it. But what we want to be doing is taking that into the real world and showing some real project use.
Real projects with real best practices and not just the bare minimum, a realistic view. So I'm just going to share Andrew's channel, a link to his channel in the chat. So don't forget to go over head over here.
Please subscribe. It's going to get probably quite busy over Easter, because I've got a little bit of time off, so there'll be lots of stuff going on over Easter. And we're trying to do these videos every week or so. And,
So let me answer these 2 questions. I know we've got some more stuff to get through before this dies. Everyone, don't forget to give me a thumbs up. I really appreciate it. Give me a thumbs up below. This is simultaneously motivating. This is what Joshua says. Motivating, it puts me at ease, especially while I'm on the job hunt breaking into tech. So Joshua, we really just know where you are in the world as well. I'm guessing the US, but let me know where you are in the world. But I'm glad this has helped, motivating, and don't work for shit companies. Like if they're giving you algorithms and stuff to do, and you're not going for a job in low-level data number crunching or whatever, and you're going as a web dev or I don't know, an app developer or something, then just say this doesn't make sense. When do you do this in your day-to-day job? And if they say, oh, we don't, then say, well, can you give me a more realistic test? Because you want more of a realistic test, the bottom line. And if they say, well, this is what we do, then it's your decision, but I would get up and walk out. I'm not wasting my time on something I'm not going to do as a day-to-day job.
Remember, you spend most of your life doing your job. The other thing you spend most of your time doing is sleeping. Between sleeping and your job, that is your life. So you might as well enjoy the time when you're awake and you're mentally active, unless you have some fantastic dreams. I mean, maybe you're a massive dreamer and those dreams cater for everything you need, but chances are they don't. So find a job that you're going to enjoy, and don't just sit there taking the first thing that comes along, because chances are they're going to just take you for a ride, let's say.
Absolutely. And the second question was, Agile, I can't pronounce it. As a junior, is it better to go wide, build different things with different tools, languages, or go deep? Say, build more advanced projects in a particular technology? It's a very good question. Wow, it's a good question today. Or we'll both answer, I think, but I guess I'll start. I think it's good to go wide and deep, and bear with me while I explain that.
You win it all.
No, I have a reason to my madness. So go wide is then be aware of everything, and then pick something and go deep. So you get the best of both worlds. So if, for example, if you do Angular and Node, go deep in those, but it's good to do some Hello World projects in React and Vue.js and some other frameworks. But just Hello World, don't go deep in them, but just have a quick play so you've got an appreciation for them, so you can have a conversation and compare them. Say, oh, Angular does this and React does this. But it may be in Angular you've gone really deep. So try and do both is my answer.
The other thing I'd say is there's 2 different statements there. So you're focusing very much on the code side of the language you're using, the frameworks. Within the dev role, it's more than writing code, right? So I think you do need to go wide, but not wide across languages, across frameworks, but wide across the peripheral things that make up a good developer. So being able to get exposure to writing tests. I mean, for me, a developer is responsible for the tests and the code, not just the code. Being able to manage requirements, so sitting with product owners, whenever there's an opportunity that says, oh, we need to go and spec out something, who's available, get straight in there, learn the peripheral things that sit around just writing the code. But as Eddie says, when it comes to writing the code, you want to be good at your job, so you're going to need to go deep. You've got to bear in mind that things like Angular, React, they're frameworks, they're not going to be around forever. They have a time, they have a buzz around them, but they'll get interchanged. I mean, 18 years, I've probably used 30 different frameworks, pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, there's almost 2 every year that you go through, and there's only so much time you can get properly deep with those things. So you might be focused on 3 different things at the moment. Yep, Angular, Node, they're probably the 2 key things for me. I'm getting quite deep into those. But the next role I take, maybe with Vue.js, who knows. So yeah, definitely on your day job for the code side, go as deep as you can into what's valid. Think a little bit about the future, because if you're working on something that's been around for the last 5 years, chances are it's going to expire soon. And when you come to look for your next job, you'll be looking and going, oh gosh, the technology world has changed. So you do need to keep a little bit up to date. So back to that earlier slide, whilst I don't necessarily want to bring it up, this comment here around, you need to know all the latest tech. Okay, yeah, you need to have an awareness of what's coming out and dabble with some of the new
Put the myth
stuff.
thing up there as well.
But there's no kind of, you need 10 years with that. Okay, there's your myth thing.
It's just so people are realising this is kind of more
It's
than myths.
it's not what you need as such. So breadth definitely with all the peripheral activities that a developer needs to do, but a bit of depth on the technology is definitely going to help you. But you need to build a career, so think about what's coming out. Keep an eye on where is the buzz going to move to, because that's going to be where you get the jobs. But also you need to be a bit niche. Don't just follow everybody else. Like there's been a big React movement over the years, and that's why React has gone up on here, because that's what everyone's talking about is React. There are hundreds of jobs out there looking for React developers. There's definitely not enough React developers looking for it, but none of them are offering anything that interesting. They're
That's
all quite
special,
short-lived
right?
and-
If you became an expert in automated testing, you've got a niche, right? You're carving yourself out. You get known as the React person, but you can go in and fix those fucked up React projects because someone just hacked some shit together really quickly. But if you can bring an extra benefit, then you'll stand out. You want to stand out. So I keep telling everyone open source, and Andrew is saying, get best practice, get best practice.
So I think we should try and finish by doing a bit of work on this.
The battery's going to die in probably 5 minutes.
5 minutes, okay. So we're going to be quite quick.
Okay, while you do that, I'm going to answer some questions real quick. So we've got Circle Pixel says, don't forget to give us a thumbs up. Really help us. We really appreciate that back. And don't forget to have a quick look around the room with a 360 camera, and you can drag the video and have a look round. Circle Pixel asks, what's usually expected of a junior developer fresh out of uni, or someone that's self-taught for that matter? Like, what would the daily tasks be? Well,
that will depend heavily on who you end up with.
It is really
because there's a lot of different cultures again.
Sure, but we can answer that from us. So from our point of view, we want everyone to add value to the team. So if it depends on what your strengths and weaknesses are. So we want your weaknesses to get better. So we want you to get exposure to that on a weekly basis to get better at it. But also we want you to harness your strength so you can feel that you're contributing to the team from day one. So getting involved in coding, creating PRs, be it for documentation or for code or for writing automated tests, whatever it is, on a daily basis is really important to get in that flow. You follow the same rituals, I can't even speak, as the rest of the team, but also giving you time to learn the more difficult stuff that you don't know yet, so you can get better, and therefore the next week, the next sprint, you'll add more value. Just keep giving you more value so you can add more value back. I think that's really, really important. Just to jump on some of the other comments. 2 a.m. in China. Wow, okay. Uggles in China, 2 a.m. Wow. It's 7 p.m. here in UK, London. And I've got people from the States. I think Elliot's from the States. It must be like 2 p.m. probably in the States, I'm guessing. What's your take on side projects after your daily job? Yes, do it and open source it.
Definitely,
definitely open source it.
You've got to do it. You've got to have a passion behind your job. If you don't have that passion and that spark outside of your work, how are you going to enjoy your work? I mean, you're in the wrong career if you're not doing some of that stuff. I think. Don't get me wrong. You're not always going to be writing code on those side projects. There could be anything, but yeah, definitely. Do your own stuff, even if it fails. I mean, it can fail over and over.
Even if it's just a learning curve, like if you're learning stuff, just put it on a project on GitHub, and people can then look back when they're interviewing you today. They can look back a month and see, oh, you've improved since that month, right? It doesn't matter where you are today, but they know over the last month, 2 months, you've got better.
I think as someone who goes around recruiting a lot of developers, I mean, I don't know how many developers I've recruited.
A lot.
Probably 200 plus developers over the last few years. That's just the last few years. The thing that interests me the most is when I want to bring someone in for a second interview. So I had a phone call with them, I call pretty much everyone that sends a CV my way, because you never really know. The CV, to me, it's not a true opinion of what you are. But the interesting one is when I want to bring someone in for a second interview, then I will actually go and look. I will check out their GitHub, their LinkedIn, whatever it is. I'll go and have a look and see what they've done. Try to understand their journey, where have they gone through. I know that people are going to start out by being really rubbish. And I probably still have a lot of issues. But learning that journey and where people are going and how they're evolving, what their interests are, that becomes part of their culture and what they're going to bring to that team. It's not, again, are they the greatest coder today, but are they going the right way? So definitely expose yourself as much as you can. Be transparent on the internet. Obviously, don't give away personal information. I'm not saying go put your bank numbers up there and all that. But that's, again, to be fair, that's what you're looking for. When I see a project, I'm going to be looking to see what practices are you following. Are you putting secret keys into your code?
Batteries, it died. It died? Yes, we lost it. But we didn't turn off. It just cut off the internet. I think we died.
We're out, are we?
Yeah, we died. It went. There's no point. You got no point hitting live. You got 1% battery.
Cool. We're still live on my camera, so if everyone wants to come over, they can do.
Yeah, that's true. So let me get you Andrew's link. Oh shit, I can't hear me. Why am I talking? We are still live on Andrew's channel. See you there. We can.
You dropped the link back up.
Yeah, I did. Questions. There. If people have dropped off, but hopefully they're still.
Well, we're going to stop soon anyway, right? But
yeah.
we can do a few more minutes.
I think we should. We've got some really good questions here, actually. So wait for them to head over. Hopefully they head over. Hey, yes, people have arrived over at Andrew's channel. Okay, brilliant. So you're not on the 360, but you're on this camera. So
simple
thanks.
Phone, but hey, it does the job.
It does the job. I can't believe mine died. So I can move this out of the way because this 360 camera doesn't have much battery. How's the audio on Andrew's phone?
Hopefully the audio's good. Okay.
So yeah, really annoyed that died. So let me answer some of these questions actually because they were really, really good. So let me head over to the other chat. Let me see. Okay, so the questions that we had. What's your take on side projects? I think we answered that, which was really good. So hopefully that answers that question.
We probably cut out towards the end there, but obviously
we
big
did,
thumbs up.
Yes, thumbs up, side projects.
Yeah. Show us your journey.
Doesn't matter what it is, just do it, exactly. Be transparent. Even if it's just you playing with a new framework, just put it on there and they'll know you've had some exposure to that, even if it was like a hello world on the weekend. What else have we got? Do you look to check for other skills besides coding? Like how do you tell they're a good team player?
Yeah, so this comes back to the interview now.
Well, before you get into that, I was just going to say, when you contribute to other open source projects, audio is perfect, brilliant, thank you.
Cool.
So when you contribute to other open source projects, you have to raise a pull request or raise an issue. And when people comment on that and say, we don't like this idea or we love it, can you tell us a bit more about it? You have to then write back. And that's really important to see how your view is on that writing back. As in, did you say, oh, I don't want to make that change. It is what it is, accept it. Or if you're really accommodating. So I think that's really important. I've interviewed people who are great coders, but I look on their GitHub, look at what people wrote on their pull request, and they write, if you don't like it, you go effing change it. And it's like, well, no, that's not the attitude to have. You've got to explain why you did it that way, and then they can learn or you can learn. So I think the open source side, again, is really, really important because not just on putting your code up there, but interacting on
those pull requests, right?
I mean,
that might be a place you get started with open sources. There's a lot of projects out there, and they might put pull requests up hoping someone's going to come along, take a look, make a comment. But a lot of the time, people don't actually come and do that, right? They'll end up just having to accept it and hope that what they're doing is good. But if you're able to contribute, there's loads of ways to contribute, right? You can raise issues for people, comment on pull requests. I'm trying to think of all the other ways. Documentation for them.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things you can contribute to open source, and those are the things that, again, when you go into an interview and you're coming for a second interview, the things that we go and look at on the internet to try and understand a bit more about you as well. But the interview itself is going to be important. I mean, the sort of questions you're going to ask are going to be sort of putting you into situations and saying, okay, so there's a difficult person in the team. They keep on accepting all of their code whenever they're doing a merge request, let's say, and there's conflicts coming up, and they keep it, and you've got this difficult. How are you going to deal with that? What are you going to do with them? So some of those interview questions.
Yeah, the conflict's actually a really good one because when you conflict with someone, it means you've changed a bit of work and someone else has changed the same bit of area. So it's kind of trying to Usually, sometimes a lot of the time it's quite obvious, right? You've added this function, I've added this function, and we've just added them to the bottom of the file, and it's obvious that we want both, and we put one under the other. But sometimes I might have improved or changed one line, you might have changed it as well, and we have to work together to make it accommodate both. And I think that shows how people work together, and it's really, really important.
Hello, Dr. Shaw. Yes.
So you got 6 people, got 1 from 6 now, so everyone's jumped over.
Jumping over, yeah.
So I want to start charging you for every person that comes over.
And subscribe while you're here. I mean, I'm trying to build up. I've just started on YouTube, so I've only got a few people right now. But
yeah,
and like Eddie's 4,000, you at now?
Almost 4,000 subscribers, so getting there slowly. I need 10,000 to go to the YouTube space, which would be an awesome streaming day. But that's another discussion. So just to answer a few more of these questions before I lose them off on my screen. We have team players you mentioned, and we've got Elliot asking, had a chat with a senior dev last week that impacted my confidence negatively. Oh no, that's not good. More than I would like to admit. Being honest is really important, so let's all be honest here. I've got thick skin, but what would you say to this end? So it depends. How did they affect you from a technical point of view, or like how did they affect your confidence? What angle? As in, was it?
Yeah, it's a difficult one. I mean, there's a lot of people out there that just say flippant things. They don't even realise they've said it a lot of the time as well. So they may have on the other side of the table, they may have not even meant to hurt you. They just didn't spend the time to understand you as well. Because sometimes you make a comment and you don't think, I mean, this has become a bit of a doctor's surgery now, but we'll have to change what the theme is. But yeah, because they don't understand you, they're going to end up hurting you, regardless of how sensitive you are or not. If they turned around and just said, "You're shit, get out the door,"
but they've got a problem though. It's their problem, not you.
Yeah, and that, I guess is what we're saying. It's them, not you.
I think everyone in the team, no matter what your title is, no matter what your seniority is the right word, like level is, everyone should be able to contribute to the team at their capacity, and everyone should be learning. So the following week, everyone can contribute more. And I think it's important for the senior dev, or the more senior people, not senior devs, the more senior people, the more experienced people, to give constructive feedback so the people, other people grow. So it's not about singing their airs and graces, it's not about saying really bad things about them, it's about constructive criticism. That's really hard to find that balance. I think that's where experience comes in. So a senior developer could technically be good, but they might not be good at mentoring somebody else. And I think that means they're not experienced, they're not senior enough. A senior developer should do everything.
We see a lot of people that are put into that kind of role and they're not appropriate for it, right? And it's because they've been able on their CVs to write these things down. And a manager has gone and hired them and go, look at what this person's done. He's worked for these people, he's had these titles. And again, he probably didn't go and actually look that up and validate that they've actually done any of that. But the reality, again, comes back to, I'm losing my train of thought momentarily, but when you've got a team, and I always say this to my team, is that I don't intend to be here forever. I want to go do other things. I want to try different jobs out. I don't want to be stuck here for the next 10 years because I feel like I have to be here to make sure that everything's a success. I join a team so that I can make that team better, so that I'm not needed there anymore and I can move on and do something else that interests me. I don't want to be stuck there forever. I want to be teaching my team, exposing them and putting them into an enjoyable environment that allows them to do what they want. Don't worry, if they turn around to the team and they all turn around and say, please go do this, I can't do it, then I'll go and do that. And I feel like I could, if I wanted to, do the jobs with most of the people in my team. But I also appreciate that most of them have probably got skills I don't have, and they'll be better at certain things than me. So I'd rather they go and grow those skills and get the exposure. So yeah, if you're in a team and there's a team lead, or you're in an interview and the interviewer's making flippant comments that aren't true, whatever, then you're probably in the wrong place anyway. So don't worry about it.
But not you're in the wrong place. The place is in the wrong place. As in, you need to go to a better place. I think there are so many good people out there, so many good companies. If you're in a place that doesn't respect you for whatever level you're at, then try and find something better. There are so many good places screaming out for good people, and I don't think you should put yourself through having an awful experience. Like Andrew said, you're in that place, you sleep a lot and you work a lot, like your lifetime, you spend a lot of time sleeping and working. So you need to be happy with both of those. Just to move on to the next one. So Elliot elaborated a little bit and he said, when we were a junior dev, did you meet a senior that made you doubt whether you ever know anything? What did you do and how did you bounce back? Yes, I did. And then looking back, I realized that senior dev wasn't a senior dev. people who make out they're better than they are and put everyone down is to make themselves look even better. And they're not a senior dev. Like when I did my first live stream last year on Twitch, we did it together. I think it was on Twitch, and I did a git commit, and the person wrote, "Oh, you're not even using GPG keys to sign your commit, and you call yourself a senior dev." And I had done, and he just hadn't seen me type in my password to sign the commit. And I said, "I had. Let me make another commit, and I can do it for you." "Oh, okay," then, and then just left because he realised they were wrong. Those type of people go around trying to put other people down who are higher than them to make themselves feel higher than that person. It's like when people do public speaking, 99% of people in the audience don't want you to fail, they want you to succeed. There is that usually one person who wants you to fail so they can try and look better in front of everybody else there. Just ignore that person. There's always one person everywhere, and if you're a team lead in that company, get rid of that fucking person. Absolutely, no questions asked. They're like a cancer. Get rid of them. But if you're at an event, just ignore them and just move on. You have the power. If you're talking at the front, you have the power to just skip over and say, "Not going to answer that question. Thank you very much," and move on.
There's a lot of hurt and rescue in corporate worlds. I think if you're working with a lot of permanent staff, the permanent staff want to progress up the ladder. If you're in a contract world, which we spend a lot more time in the contract world than the perm world, then you get less of that as well. I'm not trying to say everyone go be a contractor, because the permanent world has a lot of benefits to it. But you'll find that typically if someone is being harsh to you, it's because they're trying to work their way up the ladder. And the only way they feel they can work up the ladder is by shining to their bosses. And that means they probably see you as a threat. And by being a threat, they want to put you down, make you feel like you don't know what you're doing. And yeah, I've experienced that. There's been a number of places so I used to be a permanent member of staff, 10-ish years ago now. And I went to a lot of meetings. And in most of those meetings, there were other management in that room that were trying to make a name for themselves. And they would put me down and they'd say, "That's a load of crap. Why have you said that?" Or whatever. And I'll go out of that room. I think, "Oh, man, but I did I'm sure I was right, but I didn't perhaps have the confidence back then to say, no, this is correct, you are wrong." But they were in front of the right audience, the audience that were going to give them the promotions, and they wanted to make everyone think that they knew better. So afterwards I went away, I looked it up, checked up on what was going on, and go, "Shit, did I really get it that wrong?" Because I mean, he had a massive go at me. I mean, why is that? You go look it up and go, "Shit, I was actually spot on correct. I got everything just right." The bloke in the room, obviously, he either been reading the wrong thing, misinformed, or most likely, he was in an audience, he wanted to make himself look good, and he thought, if I can belittle the other people in this room, I'll look good. And that's all it comes down to. It's their problem again, not yours. But how do you identify that quickly? I mean, that was the problem for me. I didn't have the confidence then because I doubted myself. He brought doubt into my mind.
Yeah.
And that was the problem for me. And that was perhaps a personal problem for me. So now whenever I go into a meeting and it's around a subject, I try to make sure that I am aware and I will put up a fight. If someone pushes back, even if perhaps they are right, I might push back still these days and try and get to the answer and say, "Okay, let's just go look that up now. Let's go check that right now," rather than go out the room and come back later. Because at that point, okay, you might show up face and say, "Oh, okay, you win. I was wrong this time. Hats off to you." But chances are, if you are confident, you're willing to say, "Let's go look this up," then there's a good chance you'll get it right. So just stand up for yourself more.
Yeah, I think sometimes it's not worth it, right? That person is going to try and win even if they're wrong, no matter, and they'll put you down as much as possible. So you know what, sometimes it's not worth your health to just say, "You're wrong, but let's leave it at that. We can agree to disagree." There's a couple more questions, but before we go to the next question, I was going to say, Circle Pixel wrote, "Always respect the team lead." I actually disagree. I think everyone in the team, no matter what your level is, you should respect each other. And I think that's really, really important. No matter what level anyone's at, respect should be given in every direction. And if someone's higher than me and they don't respect me, I don't respect them. And I don't have time for them. And a lot of people who I say higher might be higher in terms of job title, but not necessarily in terms of skill. Don't forget, skill and job title don't necessarily go hand in hand.
So there's different statements there. So respect is a two-way street. You're totally correct there. But I think what you're saying, this chap is saying, you should always respect your elders, your boss, whatever. If the respect is only one way and they just are demanding your respect, then, as he says, I lose respect for them straight away. And I will quite quickly say that I have had a lot of people more senior than me removed from companies because they demand respect and they don't give it back. And I will highlight that to their bosses or whatever, and it will become quite evident quite quickly that that person is just a nuisance. And again, it goes back to the comment a minute ago. If they're causing other people to be miserable, regardless of if they're the absolute most dedicated, most senior person, if they're making other people miserable,
they've got to go.
They've got to go. That bad attitude will spread like a cancer, and you can't sustain that. So you need to highlight these things at the end of the day. But yes, respect. If they're respectful back to you, be respectful to them. Have a conversation, work things through. Because at the end of the day, if they actually want to achieve and come out with the right goal, they will listen and they will respect what you have to say. But that doesn't mean going in guns blazing at your boss. And likewise, if your boss is coming in guns blazing at you, that's a bad relationship.
Yeah, that is not good. Okay, so a couple more questions. So take on finding a mentor, or just try and ask people for advice on social. I don't... Having mentors, I believe, is important, but also not important. I don't think you should have one mentor because then you just get their one perspective on tech, on life, on whatever. I really believe in having everyone is my mentor. Andrew's my mentor. I think I'm Andrew's mentor in other areas.
There's plenty of things Eddie sees. Like YouTube, I wouldn't be on YouTube doing this stuff if it wasn't for Eddie pushing me and saying, you know what, you've got things to say, come join me, let's talk together.
And everyone here on this stream is my mentor as well. You all have different experiences. You all have learned different things to me, and you all can help me as well. I can help you. So I think everyone you meet should be your mentor, and that's what I strongly believe. I've never had one mentor. I really believe. Even when I went to a teenage hackathon, right, 12 to 18-year-olds were hacking. I learned so much that weekend that. They don't look at problems and look at solutions. I learned so much that even they were my mentors. So everyone can be your mentor, and I think that's really, really important. So I hope that helps. What else have we got? I think that was it. One more's come in. The tech lead thing was a bit of a joke. This is some circle pixel. There's a channel called Tech Lead, and he makes a bunch of jokes about sucking up to the tech lead. Oh, okay. Although I agree, it's a respect of a two-way thing. Okay, thanks for clarifying. Hopefully we didn't rant too much about that, but... You'll
find it's very easy to rub us up the wrong way when people talk about, poor attitude.
And titles and stuff, because titles don't mean anything. When someone comes in the room, so we're on a team at the moment.
We always have an attitude to leave your title at the door. Everyone that enters the room, they're equals.
And they've got to contribute something. Everyone's got to contribute something, otherwise they shouldn't be in the room. And when someone comes in and goes, right... Oh, your phone moved a bit, almost knocked it. It's just to give impact and noise. Right, I'm the boss. It's like, who the fuck are you? You just started today. Oh yeah, but I'm in charge because my title says I'm project manager. It's like, well, project manager is actually at the bottom because you don't do shit. Sorry, project managers watching, but you're useless, and that's why no project managers we've used in years on projects, right? So you don't need a project manager anymore.
You need someone with a vision and that can instill some direction, but also to be supportive. They're the people that should be running the project, not a project manager that is looking at some Gantt chart going, oh gosh, if we don't hit that deadline, we're not going to hit that one and it all falls apart. Because the reality is you can work those things through, and they're not problems. They're just bumps in the road, let's say.
How long have we been going for? I think we better call it a day soon.
We do need to think about calling it a day.
It says on the screen, I can't see. 63 minutes, that's over an hour. Okay. And this 360 camera, although hopefully it was interesting, which is not on at the moment, died with in 45 minutes, 50 minutes. It wasn't very good. I charged it yesterday. And it has got a battery slot, but I can't change it because the stream will stop and die. So that kind of sucks. But thank you very much to everyone for coming over to this channel and giving Andrew some thumbs up. We've got six thumbs ups. Thank you very much. And I hope you subscribe to his channel as well. Yeah. For some best practice, Angular and Node and Git.
And some more of these sessions as well.
And
we'll talk more about these. We haven't necessarily covered the subject we were going to so much. It became a little bit...
but I think it's good to have that back and forth, right? There were some really good questions there. It made us think. Because we're preparing this presentation for our event tomorrow.
So we're talking at an event tomorrow. If you're in London and you fancy coming over...
Yes, I will share a link to the event.
To the event. It will get posted up onto YouTube as well.
We will record it.
With the completed slides, because we are missing content. We'll have to find some time to do this tomorrow.
Yeah, we won't live stream it tomorrow, but we won't be able to manage the chat. But we will gave you a sub, Andrew. You got people saying thank you and stuff and so forth. Here's the event for tomorrow in London, UK.
More sessions like these. Yep. We'll definitely do more. I mean, I think at least once a week, if not twice a week, we're going to try and get on here.
thank you for all the positive feedback. We are going to try once a week to do stuff like this. It's great to have these questions because tomorrow when people ask us questions, we've had some kind of preemptive thought about it. So hopefully it's helped you. It has definitely helped us. And I will bring a proper camera next time. And I want to use a 360, but I'm limited to 50 minutes or just under 1 hour.
That is a problem.
So, yes.
Even if you can swap the battery, is that a big deal? Because you can continue the session, right?
I don't think you can. It kills the session.
You're going to have to look into it. These new toys.
Yeah. You're all welcome. Thank you for the positive feedback. We really appreciate it. It's like kind of almost 8 o'clock in the UK. We need to get some food and some dinner.
Bit of a travel home and whatnot.
Yes. We should start earlier next time. We started a bit late today, so we should start like half an hour earlier.
Yeah.
Thank you all for joining from all around the world. We've got China, US, Lebanon. So thank you very much.
To see everyone.
Yes, so the presentation at the moment is in Keynote on Andrew's laptop, but we are going to move it to Reveal.js to a new organisation. We probably might even start a new YouTube channel.
We've been talking about it quite a bit. We're talking about trying to set ourselves up with our own YouTube channel rather than just doing our own streams against our names.
So we'll still have our own channels, but we'll tailor content to be more about us at the event.
We'll bring a few colleagues along as well when we can.
Yeah, we've got some colleagues we're going to bring as well. They're a bit shy, but we're going to get them on here, and then you can get other experiences. So like Andrew was, like we were saying earlier at the beginning of the stream, I'm from an electronic engineering background. Andrew is from computer science. But we've got David, who's from history, but he's an amazing coder. And so I think having those different experiences makes us a really strong team. We've got Anton, what did he do? He's more...
I get a feeling he was computer science, actually.
Was he computer science? Because he's he's got such a good eye for design as well as coding. So he
is a good designer.
It's just good to have those different aspects. If Theo's watching, we're going to get you down from Glasgow, from Scotland. Theo, join us on the stream. I know you're a bit shy. But she's a junior dev and she is freaking awesome. So yes, so awesome everyone. I think we're going to call it a day there.
Yeah, no, we will do.
But we will keep you posted and we'll see you later in the week. Thank you everyone. Have a great day or evening wherever you are in the world.
And join us soon.
When you finish from the stream, I want you to go away with one thing. Open source. Come on, that's my catchphrase.
It is your catchphrase.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks everyone.